My wife looked me in the eye and said, "Transfer everything to me, or no one will find your body." She didn't know I was recording her. Now she and her boyfriend are in jail while I'm free and moving on. I met Michelle at a friend's housewarming party in Austin. She was funny, bright, and had this warmth that drew people to her. We hit it off that night, and things moved fast after that. Within a year, we were married. I was 32, she was 29. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. I had just opened a second hardware store, and she worked part-time as a dental assistant. The first 2 years were, by all means, good. We had a rhythm. She cooked, I did the dishes. Weekends were for movies, farmers markets, or spontaneous road trips. But somewhere after our second anniversary, things shifted. At first, it was subtle. She started spending more time on her phone. No big deal, we all do. But it turned into something else. She'd excuse herself during dinner to take a quick call and come back 40 minutes later, brushing it off like it never happened. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and find the bathroom light on, only to hear hushed voices behind the door. When I asked who she was talking to, she wouldn't give a straight answer. "It's personal," or "Don't start with your paranoia." Sometimes she'd laugh it off like I was being ridiculous. Other times she'd get defensive. Once, she even said, "Why do you care who I talk to so much? It's not like I'm cheating." But I hadn't even brought that up. I wish I had trusted my gut more. I tried giving her space, thinking maybe she was just going through something. Maybe work stress, maybe family stuff she didn't want to talk about. I offered to go to counseling. She scoffed at the idea. "So now I'm broken and need fixing?" That line stuck with me. By the end of that year, we were living like roommates. We barely spoke unless it was about bills or groceries. The physical side of our relationship was gone. She'd spend whole weekends at her friend Monica's place, or claim she had to help her mom out of town. I tried calling her once when she said she was at her mom's. Her mom picked up and told me she hadn't seen Michelle in weeks. When she got back that Sunday, I confronted her. Calmly. I didn't yell, didn't accuse. I just said, "I called your mom." She said, "You haven't visited her." She stared at me for a long second and then said, "Don't check up on me like I'm some child." And then she went straight to our room and locked the door. That was the first time I really felt scared, not physically, but emotionally. I didn't recognize the person I was married to anymore. She wasn't cruel outright, but she was distant, irritated, like being around me annoyed her. I started noticing other small things. Receipts for gas stations far from where she said she'd been. A sudden interest in expensive clothes and bags when she never used to care about brands. Once, I found a small note with a phone number and the name Tony next to it, crumpled up in the trash. When I asked her about it, she said it was a client from work. I didn't believe her, but I also didn't push it. I guess I was afraid of what I'd find if I kept digging. Looking back, I was in denial. I kept thinking this was a rough patch, that we'd get through it like couples do. But in my gut, I knew something was off. I didn't know how far it would go. I just knew that whatever we had was already slipping away. It was late October when everything truly cracked. I remember because the weather had just started to turn cold, and I was cleaning up the backyard after a storm had knocked down a few branches. Michelle had been gone for most of the day. Said she was visiting her cousin. By then, I didn't even bother asking follow-up questions. I'd stopped expecting honest answers. That night, she came home around 11:30 p.m. No explanation. No apology. Just walked in like she owned the place, dropped her bag, and went straight to the kitchen. She poured herself a glass of wine, leaned against the counter, and looked at me like she was waiting for a reaction. I didn't give her one. She sat down across from me at the table, staring. "You know," she said slowly, swirling her wine, "you could just transfer everything to me. The house, the stores, all of it." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Why would I do that? Her expression didn't change. She leaned in, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Because if you don't, I'll kill you, and no one will ever know it was me." She laughed right after. A long, strange laugh, like it was a joke, but her face didn't match the sound. I didn't say a word. I just watched her, trying to process what she'd just said. I didn't panic. I didn't shout. I didn't even stand up. But inside, everything clicked into place. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning something. Something bigger. Over the next few days, I started noticing even more strange behavior. One night, I woke up and found the front door slightly open. Another time, I heard whispering outside the bedroom window, too low to understand, but enough to know someone else was out there. She stopped hiding her phone entirely. She'd leave it out while she showered, but now it was full of deleted texts, call logs wiped clean. One day, while she was at work, or where she said she was, I checked our shared tablet, which was still linked to her cloud account. I found screenshots, chats, and photos she must have forgotten were backing up. There were messages with a guy named Tony. He called her babe. They talked about my schedule. They joked about how easy this would be once it's done. One message from her read, "Once he signs over the property, we ghost him. Or if he doesn't, you know what to do, winky face." I read that line 3 times. I think I stopped breathing for a second. They were planning to rob me. Maybe worse. That night, I slept with my bedroom door locked. Over the next few weeks, I started documenting everything. I kept a digital log of every incident, the open doors, the suspicious calls, even her threat. I recorded her once when she got angry and told me again, "You better sign it all over soon, or I swear, no one will even find your body." I made backups, printed everything, gave copies to a friend I trusted completely. I was terrified, but I stayed calm. I played dumb, pretended I was too afraid to leave. Meanwhile, I was watching, waiting, gathering proof. I'd loved her once, truly, and even now, I wanted to believe that maybe she was being manipulated, that maybe Tony had something over her. But the things she said, the way she looked at me like I was just a problem to solve, it broke something in me. Whatever part of her I had loved, it wasn't there anymore. By the time I finally walked into the police station, I had everything organized, screenshots, audio recordings. I wasn't even nervous anymore, just tired. Tired of living with someone who looked at me like I was disposable. The officer I spoke to didn't brush me off. I think he could tell right away this wasn't just some messy breakup story. I handed over everything. He took his time reading through the messages between Michelle and Tony, pausing at the parts where they joked about me vanishing or being cooperative if he knows what's good for him. They took it seriously from that point forward. A detective was assigned. I was told to keep everything quiet and to continue life as usual. That part was the hardest. Acting normal while knowing that behind the scenes, they were building a case. Within 2 weeks, they got enough to move forward. One night, just after dinner, there was a knock on the door. Michelle answered it. 2 plainclothes officers stepped in. They asked her to come with them. She froze. "What is this about?" she asked, trying to play calm. But her voice cracked. They read her the charges: attempted conspiracy to commit theft, intimidation, and a few others I can't even remember. When they mentioned Tony's name, I saw her entire face change. Her confidence, her arrogance, it just dropped. For the first time in months, she looked scared. Tony was picked up the same night. I didn't go to court for the hearings. I didn't need to see her again. But I was told later that she pled guilty after the evidence came in. Apparently, Tony had a record. He had done something similar years ago with another woman who never came forward fully. Michelle? She claimed she was manipulated, that she didn't really mean to go through with it. But here's what still stings. About a month after the arrest, I got a letter. It was handwritten, neatly, like she'd taken her time. It was from Michelle. She said she was sorry, that she had lost herself, that she met Tony during a time when she felt powerless and bored, and he made her feel alive again. She blamed herself, but also made excuses. Said Tony had convinced her that I didn't love her anymore, that I was hiding money from her, that I deserved it. At the end, she wrote, "I don't expect forgiveness, but I do wish I'd remembered who I was before I let him get in my head. I loved you once truly. I just wish I had protected that instead of destroying it." I didn't write back. I moved out of that house a few months later, sold the stores, started fresh in a new town. Quiet life. I've dated a bit, but nothing serious yet. Sometimes I think back to the early days, the version of Michelle I met at that party. The way she laughed when I told her I couldn't dance. That version. I don't know if she ever really existed, or if I just saw what I wanted to see. I still don't fully understand what flipped in her. Was it boredom? Greed? Manipulation? Maybe all of it. But what I do know is this. Love doesn't survive secrecy, threats, and betrayal. And no one, no matter how familiar they once felt, is worth losing yourself for. So what do you think? Did I do the right thing by staying quiet and collecting proof? Or should I have gotten out sooner, even if I didn't have all the evidence? Have you ever seen someone change completely right in front of you like that?